Hi guys, it is currently the 12th of January, 12th of January 2021, and today I am doing a video about a very, very special someone in my life. It's going to be dedicated to him. You know, he's only been in my life now for about 5 months, but in that time he's completely changed everything. So I am of course talking about my precious little boy Charlie. Charlie is my cat that I adopted on the 20th of August last year, and I just thought I'd do a video about what it's like adopting a cat during a pandemic, how exactly it is that I came to the decision to adopt, and also what it's been like trying to get used to having a cat in a pandemic. So let's start from the beginning. Why did I decide to adopt a cat in the first place? So I've actually been after a cat for quite a while now, at least a couple of years. My mum never let us have a cat. Obviously after my mum died, I started having quite a rough time. I was struggling a lot, feeling very lonely, because obviously right after she died and right after our funeral and things, when my family would normally be around, we went into a global pandemic, so that was fun. Yeah, so I was really struggling with loneliness. I'd been signed off work sick for about 2 months, so I was really feeling down. And then I sat one day and I thought, hang on, I've always wanted a cat. I heard having pets are quite good for your mental health. Why don't I just get a cat? So I started doing some research, was weighing up buying a kitten versus adopting a cat, and eventually I decided on adopting a senior cat, because I know that senior cats often find it more difficult to find homes, and people tend to adopt younger cats very quickly, but older cats tend to struggle getting placed in homes. So one day I was on the Cats Protection website. Cats Protection are one of the biggest, if not the biggest, animal charity in the UK, and I'll leave a link to their website in the description as well. I was on the Cats Protection website. I'd been checking it every day for probably 2 or 3 weeks when I stumbled across a picture of a very handsome boy, and I'll insert a picture of what was on the website. He was very funny looking, so it looked like he had little Ugg boots on, because majority of his body had been shaved due to the conditions that his previous owner had left him in, and he had a very fluffy head and very fluffy feet, and he looked very grumpy, and I don't know why, but I just felt this instant bond with him, and I just knew I thought, that's my cat. Now on to the process of what it was actually like to adopt a cat in a pandemic. Initially, you go onto a cat's page and you see a button that you've got to click, and it says inquire about blank, so mine said inquire about Charlie, that's his name. Then there is a very simple form for you to fill in, just with a few generalised questions such as will the cat be allowed outside, is there outdoor access if necessary, and a few other daft little questions that take some personal details from you, like a contact number, an email address, that sort of thing, and it's all really simple. I heard back about Charlie maybe 2 or 3 days after I inquired about them. Some cats, depending on how popular they are, it can take longer. Some cats will take less time. I think I inquired about Charlie on the Saturday or Sunday, and I heard back kind of midweek, and I basically got an email from someone at the centre saying, hi, we've reviewed your application, we feel like you'd be a really good match for Charlie. Are you available for a phone call to discuss the next steps? And that was very exciting for me to read, so of course I fired them off an email, and we had a quick chat on the phone, and asked us a couple of additional questions, such as, do I have a room in the house that I could set aside for a cat for when they first came home, because it's very important for a cat to have what we call a sanctuary when they first get home, somewhere they feel safe, somewhere where, you know, they don't have to worry about anyone else, it's their space. And then once we'd gone through all that, I got a follow-up email after that call saying that they still think I would be a really good match for Charlie, and it was time for our video meet and greet. Now obviously under normal circumstances what actually happens, as far as I'm aware, is you would go and visit the centre and you would meet the cat and get to play with them a little bit. They also come out to your house and do like an assessment to make sure that, you know, your house is cat suitable. Instead, what happened was, before that video call, I had to set up a sanctuary room for the cat. So I got to work building a cat tower and buying a lot of cat necessities. So food bowls, toys. I also had a couple of big cardboard boxes that aligned with some meal clothes, so that when he first came home he could get used to me scent as well. At this point it was looking very likely I was going to get him, but obviously it's dependent on how that video call goes. So I remember it was a Wednesday. It would have been Wednesday the 12th of August. Was when I met Charlie for the first time. Everyone at my local cat protection branch, just as a side note, is so lovely. All of the kind of, you know, handlers, even the reception staff, they're all absolutely lovely. So yeah, Wednesday the 12th of August is the first time I met Charlie, or Chabitha as he's sometimes known, and I just remember seeing him. Obviously one of the handlers went into his kind of pen, and I remember seeing him for the first time and I almost started crying, and I just knew that this cat was special. It's the only way I can describe it. Like I said, he looked perpetually grumpy at the time. I think he was sat on top of a cat tower of some description, or he was lying down asleep on a cat tower. The handler had a little play with him, had a little chat to me at the same time, and I remember at one point I said his name and he turned his head towards us, and that was the sweetest thing I think I've ever experienced in my entire life. And then obviously at the end of that, the handler turned to us and went, "Do you think that he's the cat for you?" And I went, 100% yeah. And then the receptionist who initially rang us came back in and said, "Do you think he's the cat for you?" And I went, "Yeah." And she went, "So do you want to go forward with the adoption then?" And I said, "Yes, 100%. So after that point it was very full steam ahead. Luckily my local cats protection branch offered a no contact rehoming. What that means is they've got volunteers who will actually bring the cat to you and leave the cat on your doorstep, obviously making sure you're around to kind of pick up the cat. The volunteer at my shelter only worked certain days, so I think it was Wednesday and Thursday they worked. I definitely wasn't going to have everything ready for like 2 days later, so I said, "Can we do it next Thursday?" So it would have been Thursday the 20th, and the receptionist said, "Yes, that's absolutely fine. Thursday the 20th, would you prefer morning or afternoon?" I said morning. So she was like, "Right, we'll get him dropped off at 10 AM then." I was like, "Great." And the no contact rehoming is actually such a good idea because for me, I don't drive and my brother was doing a lot of overtime at the time, so I don't know when I would have been able to pick him up otherwise. But yeah, Thursday the 20th, I was up very early that morning. I think I was up at like 7, and I was really nervous but also really excited. And about 10 to 10 rolls around and I started pacing. I started pacing up and down my living room, waiting for him to come home, and then I just so happened to be next to the window and I see a van with the Cats Protection logo pulling up outside, and I just remember going, "That's my baby." And I opened the door and I was like stood in the doorway and I see this little blue carrier, which you can actually see behind us. I see this little blue carrier emerging from the back of the van and I can hear him from across the road. And I remember the volunteer saying, "Is this your cat?" I went, "Yep." And so I picked him up and I brought him inside and he was home. So yeah, I mean, all in all, it was a really simple process going about adopting Charlie. It was a lot simpler than I was expecting it to be. I was thinking it's going to be this massive long process, but it's not. It's really not. And yeah, now I've had him for nearly 5 months and I wouldn't change him for the world. He's my best friend. He sits next to us on the sofa. Where he's actually lying now is right next to where I normally sit on the sofa. He always sits next to us on the sofa. I get in from work quite late every night. It's normally about 9:30, 10:15, and without fail, whenever I get in from work, he comes bounding down the stairs and up to the front door and starts meowing at us. Getting him was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life, and I don't regret it for a second. He's asleep right now. Normally he's just sat staring at us, but he's asleep. In terms of adjusting to having a cat, it was pretty easy. I mean, cats tend to be fairly self-sufficient anyways. You know, they'll just go and eat and sleep, and he's primarily an indoor cat, so he's got a litter box as well. As long as I remember to change his litter and feed him, he's fine. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I just wanted to say thank you to Cats Protection again for bringing such a wonderful cat into my life. I am so grateful. Yeah, I can't say anything other than that. I'm so grateful. Again, I will leave a link to the Cats Protection website in the description down below. Please do go and have a quick watch. Or have a look at the website, sorry. Just have a look at the work they do. If you're considering getting a pet, or a cat in particular, my recommendation would be definitely look at adoption websites before you do anything else. There's a lot of amazing cats on there who desperately need a home. Like, I mean, Charlie, for instance. Charlie is 10. He was 9 when I got him. He turned 10 in September. So he's an older cat. I kind of knew I wanted to adopt an older cat. I mean, there's always different cats being put into shelters, and it's heartbreaking, but it means that there's a very good chance you're going to find a cat for your needs and to fit into your lifestyle, and that's the most important thing. Definitely give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this little anecdote about comment down below if you want to, with your experiences of either adopting a pet or buying a pet. Do you want to say bye, Charlie? Do you want to say bye, Charlie? Bye bye everyone. Bye bye. Okay, bye guys.